The warning lights turned red across the control panel. Taman gripped the steering controls as his small scout ship shook violently. Behind him, 3 pirate vessels fired their weapons, and each blast that missed sent shockwaves through space that rattled his hull. Come on, Taman muttered, pushing the engines harder. The ship protested with a grinding noise that made his teeth hurt. He had been mapping this sector for the United Earth Survey Corps when the pirates jumped him. Bad luck, wrong place, wrong time. Another blast hit his rear shield. The shield collapsed with a sound like breaking glass. Alarm screamed in his ears. Taman yanked the controls left, diving toward the planet below. It was his only chance. The pirates might not follow him into an atmosphere. They preferred easy targets in open space. The planet grew larger in his viewport. It looked cold and gray, with massive mountains that pierced through thick clouds. No signs of civilization, no signals. Nothing but rocks and ice. Perfect for hiding if he could survive the landing. His ship entered the atmosphere too fast. The hull began to glow red from friction. Taman fought with the controls, trying to slow down, but the steering system was damaged. Half his instruments showed errors. The other half showed nothing at all. Through the window, he saw a mountain range approaching fast. Too fast. Among the peaks, something gleamed in the thin sunlight. A structure, enormous, made of crystal or glass that caught the light like a diamond. Taman had no time to wonder what it was. His ship was falling like a stone. He pulled back on the controls with all his strength, trying to level out, but the nose stayed pointed down. The crystal structure rushed up to meet him. "This is going to hurt," he said to nobody. The ship hit the building at full speed. The nose cone smashed through walls of crystal that exploded into millions of pieces. Taman felt himself thrown forward against his safety harness. The straps dug into his chest and shoulders. Metal screamed as it twisted and broke. The world became a chaos of noise and spinning colors. Then everything stopped. Silence. Complete silence except for the ringing in Taman's ears. He hung upside down in his seat, held by the harness. Blood dripped from his nose onto the ceiling below him. His left arm hurt badly. His ribs ached with each breath. But he was alive. Taman hit the harness release. He fell onto the ceiling with a grunt of pain. For a long moment he just lay there, breathing, checking himself for serious injuries. His arm might be broken. Definitely bruised ribs, cuts on his face and hands. Nothing immediately fatal. He crawled toward the emergency exit. The normal door was crushed shut, but the escape hatch still worked. Taman pushed it open and pulled himself out into cold air that stung his lungs. The sight that greeted him made him forget his pain. He was inside a massive chamber. The walls stretched up so high that the ceiling disappeared into darkness. Everything glowed with a soft blue light that came from crystals embedded in the walls. The crystals pulsed slowly like breathing, beautiful and strange. His ship had carved a path of destruction through several rooms before stopping here. Broken crystal littered the floor. Pieces of his ship lay scattered everywhere. And in the center of the chamber, surrounded by the wreckage, stood a stone platform. On the platform sat a coffin. No, not a coffin. A sarcophagus, made of dark stone covered in carvings that seemed to shift when he looked at them. The top of the sarcophagus had been split open. A piece of his ship's engine had smashed right through it. Taman limped closer, holding his hurt arm. He should be calling for help. He should be checking his supplies. But something about the broken sarcophagus pulled him forward. He climbed onto the platform and looked inside. A woman lay there. At least she looked like a woman at first glance. But no human ever had scales that shimmered with rainbow colors. No human had horns that curved back from her forehead like polished ivory. No human had wings folded against their body, wings that looked like they were made from living opals. She was beautiful and terrifying at the same time, easily 8 feet tall. Her scales caught the blue light from the crystals and threw back every color Taman had ever seen, and some he hadn't. She wore armor made of the same material as her scales, fitted perfectly to her body. She was also very clearly dead. Had been dead for a long time. Taman felt a wave of sadness. Whatever she had been, whoever her people were, they had built this place to honor her, and he had destroyed it. He had crashed through their temple like a meteor and broken open her tomb. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. His voice echoed in the chamber. Then he noticed the light. His ship's power core was leaking. He could see the green glow from where he stood. That was bad, very bad. The core contained exotic particles that could do strange things to matter. That's why they worked as fuel. But outside the containment field, they were dangerous. The green light was spreading across the floor, following cracks in the crystal. It reached the platform. It touched the sarcophagus. The carvings on the stone began to glow. Taman took a step back. All around the chamber, the blue crystals started pulsing faster. The light grew brighter. Energy crackled in the air, making his hair stand on end. The temperature rose. The broken sarcophagus hummed with power. "Oh no," Taman whispered. "What did I do?" The radiation from his core was interacting with something in the temple, some kind of technology he didn't understand. Energy poured into the sarcophagus, into the body inside it. The dragon woman's chest moved. She took a breath. Her eyes opened. They were gold. Pure gold like the sun, and they held an intelligence that had seen centuries pass. Those eyes found Taman immediately. They locked onto him with such intensity that he felt frozen in place. The woman sat up slowly. Her wings unfurled with a sound like silk sliding on glass. She looked at her hands, turning them over as if surprised to find them there. Then she looked around the chamber, at the destruction, at the broken walls and scattered wreckage. Her expression changed. Confusion became anger. Those golden eyes blazed with rage that made Taman want to run. She stood up in one smooth motion. Even injured and exhausted, Taman could see the power in her movements. This was a creature built for war. A predator, a queen. She spoke. The words meant nothing to Taman, but the tone was clear. She was asking questions, demanding answers. Her voice was deep and musical, filling the chamber like an orchestra. Taman raised his good hand in what he hoped was a universal gesture of peace. "I don't understand," he said. "I'm sorry. I crashed. It was an accident." She spoke again, louder this time, more urgent. Then the chamber shook. Crystal fell from the ceiling. Large pieces that could crush a man. The walls cracked with sounds like thunder. The damage from his crash had weakened the entire structure. Now, with all this energy flowing through it, the temple was coming apart. The dragon woman understood the danger immediately. She looked at Taman, then at the collapsing chamber. She made a decision. She grabbed him with one clawed hand, surprisingly gentle despite her obvious anger. Before Taman could protest, she launched herself into the air. Her wings beat once, twice, and they were flying through the chamber as the ceiling collapsed behind them. Taman held onto her arm and prayed he would survive the next few minutes. He had crashed into an ancient temple. He had accidentally brought someone back from the dead, someone who might want to kill him, and now the temple was falling down around them. It was not his best day. The dragon woman flew through the collapsing temple with Taman clutched in one hand. Her wings beat powerfully, dodging falling debris that could have killed them both. She navigated the corridors as if she had memorized every turn centuries ago. Maybe she had. They burst through a doorway just as the room behind them caved in completely. Fresh air hit Taman's face. Cold mountain air that had never tasted better. The dragon woman landed on a rocky outcrop outside the temple and set him down, perhaps a bit harder than necessary. Taman stumbled but managed to stay on his feet. He watched as more of the temple collapsed inward, sending up clouds of crystal dust that sparkled in the pale sunlight. An entire section of the mountainside crumbled. The destruction was total. The woman stood at the edge of the outcrop staring at the ruins. Her wings drooped. Her shoulders sagged. She made a sound that was almost like crying, but deeper, more painful to hear, a sound of grief that came from the chest. She turned to face Taman. Those golden eyes were wet with tears, but the anger was still there. She spoke again in her language, the words fast and sharp. Questions, accusations, demands. Taman held up his hands. "I don't understand," he said slowly. "I need my translator in my ship." "But the ship is—" He pointed at the collapsed temple. She stared at him, studying him, taking in his appearance for the first time. His flight suit with its Earth Survey Corps patches. His human face, his small size compared to her. He could see the moment she realized he wasn't anything she knew. The woman pointed at herself and said something that sounded like a name. Then she pointed at him and raised her eyebrows in a question. "Taman," he said, pointing to himself. "My name is Taman Park." He pointed at her questioningly. She repeated the gesture to herself and said clearly, "Hana." "Hana," Taman repeated. A simple name for a creature that looked like she could burn mountains. "Nice to meet you, Hana. I wish it was under better circumstances." Hana pointed at the ruins, then at him, then made an angry gesture that needed no translation. She was asking why he destroyed her temple. Taman sighed. This was going to be difficult. He started making hand gestures, trying to mime what happened. He showed flying with his hands, then made shooting sounds, then showed crashing. He felt ridiculous, but Hana watched carefully. She tilted her head. She pointed up at the sky questioningly. Yes, Taman said, nodding. From up there, ship, flying, bad people shooting, crash. He emphasized the last word with a falling hand motion. Hana seemed to understand at least part of it. She looked less angry, more thoughtful. She examined his injured arm, then touched it gently with one clawed finger. Taman winced. She pulled back her hand and looked troubled. Then Hana did something unexpected. She reached up and touched a crystal that hung from a chain around her neck. The crystal began to glow. She spoke into it, her voice taking on a formal tone. Nothing happened. She spoke again, louder. Still nothing. Hana's face showed confusion, then worry, then fear. She touched the crystal repeatedly, speaking words that became more desperate each time. Whatever she was trying to do, it wasn't working. Finally, she lowered her hand. She looked at Taman with an expression that made his heart hurt. Lost. Completely lost. Hey, Taman said softly. It's okay. We'll figure this out. Hana walked to the edge of the outcrop and looked out across the mountains. Taman joined her carefully, keeping some distance. From here, they could see for miles. Mountains and snow and gray sky. No cities, no roads, no signs of life. Hana said something quietly. It sounded like a question. I don't know, Taman admitted. But I need to get back to my ship. Or what's left of it. I have equipment that might help us communicate. And I need to send a distress signal. Hana looked at the collapsed temple. She shook her head firmly. I know it's dangerous, Taman said. But I don't have a choice. My people will come looking for me eventually, but that could take weeks. I need to tell them where I am. Hana studied him for a long moment. Then she looked at the temple again. She seemed to be having an internal debate. Finally, she nodded once and pointed at the ruins, then at herself, then at him. She would help him. They climbed back down to the temple together. The entrance they had flown out of was blocked, but Hana found another way in. A small doorway that had partially collapsed. She moved the rubble with surprising strength, tossing aside stones that Taman couldn't have budged. Inside, the temple was dark and dangerous. The floor was cracked. The walls groaned. More pieces fell occasionally from the ceiling. Hana led the way, using the glow from crystals in the walls to see. Taman followed close behind, trying not to think about tons of rock above his head. They found his ship in the central chamber. It was crushed even worse than before. The power core had stopped leaking, at least. That was good. But most of the equipment was destroyed. Taman climbed into the wreckage and started searching. His emergency kit was intact, good. His medical supplies were smashed, bad. His communication array was in pieces, very bad. But his portable translator was still in one piece. The small device had been in a shielded compartment designed to survive crashes. Taman pulled it out and activated it. The screen flickered, then stabilized. He held it up toward Hana. Can you say something? Hana spoke a sentence. The translator beeped and hummed, analyzing her language. This would take time. The device needed to hear more words, understand patterns, build a database. While the translator worked, Taman searched for other useful items. He found a survival pack with food and water, a medical kit that was slightly damaged but usable, a portable power cell. Not much, but better than nothing. Hana was exploring the chamber. She examined the broken sarcophagus, running her hands over the carvings. She looked at the walls, the fallen crystals, the shattered artwork. Each discovery seemed to hurt her. She found a wall covered in symbols. She touched them and they lit up, projecting images into the air, holographic recordings. Taman watched as alien faces appeared. Dragon people like Hana, but wearing different clothes. They spoke urgently, showing images of space, of planets, of fleets of ships. Hana watched with her hand over her mouth. The recording showed battles. Massive battles between dragon ships and something else. Something dark and terrible that moved like a swarm of insects. The swarm consumed everything it touched. The recording showed the dragon people fighting desperately. It showed them losing. It showed planets dying. Then it showed Hana herself, younger, wearing royal armor. She was giving orders. Ships were retreating. The swarm was pursuing. The recording showed Hana entering the sarcophagus, lying down, closing her eyes. Other dragon people sealed her inside with tears on their faces. The recording ended. Hana stood very still. Then she spoke, her voice barely a whisper. The translator beeped. Words appeared on the screen. How long? Taman checked the temple's remaining systems with his scanner. He found a chronometer still working in the walls. He did the math. Then he wished he hadn't. According to this, he said slowly, it's been about 3,000 years. The translator spoke his words in Hana's language. She sat down hard on the floor. Her wings wrapped around herself like a shield. She was shaking. Taman sat down near her, not too close. He didn't know what to say. What could you say to someone who just learned that everyone they ever knew had been dead for 3,000 years? I'm sorry, he finally said. I'm so sorry, Hana. She looked at him with those golden eyes full of tears. The translator was working better now. When she spoke, it translated, My people. Where are my people? Taman shook his head sadly. I don't know. I've never heard of your species before. I'm sorry. Gone, Hana said. The translator caught the word easily. All gone. Everything gone. They sat in the ruined temple together, a human and a dragon, both far from home, both alone. Then the temple shook again. Not from collapse this time, from something else. Hana's head snapped up. Her nostrils flared. She stood quickly, her entire body tense. What is it? Taman asked. Hana spoke quickly. The translator showed, Defense systems activating, we must leave now. From deeper in the temple came a sound, a humming that grew louder. Then mechanical footsteps, many mechanical footsteps. Blue lights appeared in the darkness, eyes, dozens of them, coming closer. Hana grabbed Taman's arm. Run! They ran. The defense drones moved through the temple like hunting spiders. Each one was the size of a large dog, built from metal and crystal that glowed with blue energy. They had too many legs and sensors that swept the corridors like searchlights. When those sensors found targets, the drones attacked. Taman and Hana ran through the crumbling passages with the machines close behind. Energy blasts scorched the walls near them. One blast hit Taman's shoulder, spinning him around. The pain was immediate and sharp. Hana caught him before he fell, lifting him like he weighed nothing, and kept running. She turned into a side corridor and set Taman down in an alcove. She positioned herself between him and the approaching drones. Her wings spread wide. Her scales began to glow with an inner light. She took a deep breath. The first drone rounded the corner. Hana breathed out. Lightning erupted from her mouth, pure white electricity that turned the corridor into daylight. It hit the drone and spread through its entire body. The machine exploded in a shower of sparks and molten metal. 2 more drones appeared. Hana moved faster than Taman's eyes could follow. She grabbed one drone with her claws and tore it apart like paper. The other drone fired at her, but the energy blast bounced off her scales harmlessly. She crushed it under her foot. For a moment, silence returned to the corridor. Hana turned to Taman, breathing hard. She looked tired. The glow faded from her scales. Are you okay? Taman asked, holding his burned shoulder. Hana nodded, but he could see she was lying. She had just woken from 3,000 years of sleep. She was weak, running on reserves she didn't have. We can't keep running, Taman said. We need to shut down these drones. There must be a control center. Hana spoke to the translator. Archive chamber. Deep inside. Controls there. But dangerous. Many drones. Do we have a choice? She smiled slightly, showing sharp teeth. No choice. This is true. They moved deeper into the temple, more carefully now. Hana led the way, using paths that the drones seemed to avoid. Old maintenance corridors hidden behind false walls. Secret passages that her people had built long ago. As they walked, Taman asked questions. The translator was getting better at their languages, though it still made mistakes sometimes. What were your people called? He asked. Yonari, Hana said. We were called the Yonari. We built an empire across many stars. We were proud. Too proud, maybe. What happened to you? That recording showed a war. Hana's expression darkened. The Void Swarm. They came from dark space between galaxies. They consumed everything, planets, ships, people, everything became part of the swarm. We fought for 200 years. We lost, but you survived. I was meant to survive. The last queen. If the swarm could be defeated, I would wake and rebuild our people. If not, she gestured at the empty temple, then I would sleep forever. They reached a massive door carved with images of the Yonari at their peak. Hana placed her hand on the door and it recognized her, sliding open with a grinding sound. The archive chamber beyond was enormous. Hundreds of crystal pillars stretched from floor to ceiling, each one containing data. Holographic displays floated in the air, waiting for commands. And in the center of it all stood a control console that pulsed with soft blue light. Incredible, Taman whispered. This was technology beyond anything humanity had achieved. If he could bring back just a fraction of this knowledge. Hana walked to the console and touched it. The entire chamber came to life. Images filled the air. Recordings. Messages. The last memories of a dying civilization. She spoke to the console in her language. It responded, showing her information. Taman watched her face change as she read. Sadness, anger, horror. What does it say? He asked gently. The war, Hana said quietly. We did not lose entirely. My people fought the swarm to a moon near this world. They trapped the hive ship there, used all our remaining power to seal it away. She touched the screen and an image appeared. A moon in space covered in glowing seals. Then they put me here. To guard the seal. To wake if it ever broke. Did it break? Hana checked the readings. Her face went pale. Breaking, slowly, for many years. The seals are old, dying. The hive ship will break free soon. How soon? Weeks, maybe less. Hana looked at him with frightened eyes. And there is worse news. Your ship. The energy from your ship when it crashed. The drones detected it. They sent a signal to the moon. The swarm will know something is here. They will come faster now. Taman felt his stomach drop. I did this. I crash awakened you, but it also called the monsters. Not your fault, Hana said. But we must act. We must warn others. Your people. Any people. The swarm cannot be allowed to escape. Can we strengthen the seals? Hana shook her head. The seals need power. Power we do not have. This temple is dying. Most systems are broken. We cannot repair them, Taman thought hard. There had to be a solution. There always was. Humans were good at finding solutions to impossible problems. That's how they had survived so long. What about destroying the moon? He suggested. If the hive ship is trapped there, we destroy the whole moon. Possible, Hana said slowly. The temple has orbital weapons. But they need time to charge. Days. We do not have days, then we buy time. We shut down these defense drones so we can work. We send a distress signal to my people. They have ships, weapons. If we can hold out until they arrive. Hana looked at the console again. Shutting down drones is easy here. She pressed several controls. Throughout the temple, the humming of the drones stopped. But your distress signal? The temple's communication array is damaged. I can repair it, but I need parts from your ship. My ship is crushed. Then we use drone parts. They have similar components. Help me gather them. They worked together for the next several hours. Hana showed Taman what pieces they needed from the destroyed drones. He helped her carry the parts back to the archive chamber. She was surprisingly gentle when teaching him, showing patience even when he made mistakes. While they worked, they talked. Taman told her about Earth, about humanity's journey to the stars, how they were still young, still learning, still making mistakes. Hana told him about the Yonari, about their beautiful cities that floated in the clouds, about their philosophy of balance with nature, about their art and music and poetry. We thought we were immortal, she said while connecting wires. We thought nothing could destroy us. We were wrong. You're not destroyed, Taman said. You're still here. I am one. One is not a civilization. Maybe not, but one is a start. Humans started with one planet. Now we have dozens of colonies. You could rebuild. Hana smiled sadly. You are optimistic. Is this human quality? Stubbornness mostly. We don't know when to give up. This is good quality. My people knew when to give up. Maybe that is why we lost. Finally, they finished the repairs. Hana activated the communication array. It flickered, then stabilized. She looked at Taman. Your message? She asked. Taman transmitted his distress signal on all frequencies. He identified himself and his location. He warned about the void swarm and the breaking seals. He marked the coordinates as priority urgent. Then they waited. Minutes passed. Hours. The archive chamber was quiet except for the hum of machinery. Taman sat against a wall exhausted. His shoulder hurt where the drone had burned him. Hana had bandaged it with material from his survival kit. But he needed proper medical treatment. He needed rest. They both did. Hana sat beside him, her wings folded. She looked tired too, her scales less bright than before. Do you think they will come? She asked. Your people? They will, Taman said with confidence he didn't entirely feel. Might take a while, but they'll come. We don't leave people behind. Another good quality. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. Then the temple sensors began beeping urgently. Hana jumped up and ran to the console. Her eyes went wide. What is it? Taman asked, standing painfully. Ships, Hana said. Approaching the temple. 3 ships. Hope surged in Taman's chest. My people? Hana checked the readings. Her expression grew grim. No, wrong signatures. Not military. Not rescue. She looked at him. Pirates, I think. Taman's hope died. The ones who shot me down. They must have tracked my crash. What do they want? Salvage, technology, anything valuable they can sell. Taman looked around the archive chamber with its priceless artifacts. They just found the biggest prize in the sector. The console beeped again. A new alert. They are landing, Hana said. Outside the temple, many people, armed. Taman checked his survival pack. He had a small pistol. 10 shots. Against a crew of pirates in a temple full of ancient weapons that neither of them knew how to use properly. We need to hide, he said. Or run. Hana shook her head. Her eyes blazed gold again. No more running. This is my temple, my people's last legacy. I will not let pirates take it. Hana, you're exhausted. You can barely stand. We can't fight them. She looked at him with fierce pride. I am Yonari. I am a queen. Exhausted or not, I am still dangerous. She walked toward the door. Stay here, hide, I will handle this. Wait, Taman said. At least let me help. 2 is better than 1, right? Hana smiled slightly. You are brave. Foolish but brave, very well. We face them together. Outside they heard voices echoing through the temple corridors. Rough voices calling out to each other. The sound of many boots on stone. The pirates had arrived. The pirates moved through the temple like rats searching for food. There were at least 15 of them, maybe more. They carried guns and cutting tools and collection bags. They talked loudly, excited by the ancient technology surrounding them. Their leader was a man named Bowman, tall and scarred, with cold eyes that missed nothing. He barked orders at his crew while examining the crystal walls with greedy interest. Careful with those panels, Bowman shouted. They're worth more intact. Jinwoo, check those corridors. Minho set up the scanner. I want to know what else is in here. Taman and Hana watched from a hidden alcove above the main hall. They had climbed up using maintenance shafts that Hana remembered from her time. The pirates hadn't thought to look up yet. There are too many, Taman whispered. We need a plan. Hana's eyes narrowed as she studied the pirates. She pointed to a man setting up equipment near the archive chamber entrance. That one. He has scanning device. If he finds the archive, finds all the knowledge there. I know. We can't let that happen. I will stop them, Hana said simply. How? You said yourself you're weak. You used a lot of energy fighting the drones. Hana smiled, showing her sharp teeth. Weak for Yonari still means strong for most others. Watch. Before Taman could stop her, Hana dropped from the alcove. She landed in the middle of the hall with a crash that made the pirates jump. Dust rose around her. Her wings spread wide, catching the light from the crystals. She stood to her full height and roared. The sound shook the temple. It was not human. It was not anything natural. It was pure predator fury, amplified by centuries of royal authority. Several pirates dropped their weapons and ran immediately. The others raised their guns and fired. Energy bolts and bullets struck Hana's scales and bounced away harmlessly. She laughed a terrible sound and moved. Her speed was incredible. One moment she stood in the center of the hall. The next, she was among the pirates like a storm. She grabbed one man and threw him across the room. He hit the wall and didn't get up. She breathed lightning at 2 others who were trying to flank her. They fell, smoking and unconscious. A 3rd pirate fired his gun point blank at her face. The bullet flattened against her scales. She headbutted him and he crumpled. In less than a minute, half the pirate crew was down. The remaining pirates retreated, firing wildly. Bowman shouted orders, trying to organize them, but panic had set in. They had come expecting an empty ruin. Instead, they found a dragon. Taman climbed down from the alcove and ran to help. One pirate was trying to sneak around behind Hana. Taman shot him with his small pistol. The pirate yelped and fell, clutching his leg. Hana noticed Taman and nodded approvingly. Together, they drove the pirates back through the corridors. Bodies littered the floor. Some unconscious, some groaning, none dead. Hana was being careful despite her fury. She was disabling, not killing. Finally, only Bowman remained. He had retreated to a small chamber filled with intact technology. He held a strange device in his hands, something he must have grabbed from one of the walls. It was cylindrical and covered in glowing symbols. "Stay back," Bowman warned. His voice was shaking. "I don't know what this is, but it looks powerful. I'll use it." Hana stopped advancing. She tilted her head, studying the device. Her expression changed from anger to concern. "Put that down," she said in her own language. The translator on Taemin's belt converted her words. "You do not understand what you hold." "I understand it's worth a fortune," Bowman snapped. "I understand it's my ticket out of here." "It is not weapon," Hana said carefully. "It is key. Very dangerous key. Please put it down slowly." Taemin could see Bowman's finger moving over the device, searching for buttons or switches. "What kind of key?" "The kind that should stay locked," Taemin said, raising his pistol. "Listen to her. She knows this place. She knows what that thing does." Bowman laughed bitterly. "You expect me to trust you? You're working with a monster, some kind of alien freak. I'll take my chances." He pressed a symbol on the device. It activated with a sound like breaking crystal. The symbols glowed brighter. Energy pulsed outward in waves that made Taemin's teeth hurt. Hana screamed something in her language. The translator couldn't keep up, but the tone was clear. Terror. The temple shook. Not from collapse this time. From something else. Something waking up. Bowman dropped the device, his face pale. "What did I do?" "You fool," Hana said. She ran to the device and tried to deactivate it, but the symbols had gone dark. It had already sent its signal. "You opened one of the seals. One of the containment seals on the moon." Taemin felt cold understanding wash over him. "The Void Swarm?" "Yes," Hana said quietly. "One scout organism is free now. It will come here. To the source of the signal. How long do we have?" Hana checked a panel on the wall. "Minutes. Maybe less." Bowman backed away. "I didn't know." "I didn't mean to." "Your intentions do not matter," Hana said coldly. "You have killed us all." Outside the temple, the sky began to change. The gray clouds turned darker. A spot of pure black appeared and grew larger. Something was falling from orbit. Something that moved wrong, that bent light around it unnaturally. The remaining conscious pirates saw it too. They ran for their ships in panic. Taemin grabbed Hana's arm. "Can we stop it? The scout thing? Maybe. If we are clever and very lucky." She looked at Bowman with disgust. "Get your remaining crew out of here. Go to your ships. Leave this planet. Warn everyone to stay away." "What about you?" Bowman asked. "We fight." "It is what we do." Bowman hesitated. Taemin could see something warring in his expression. Greed versus guilt. Self-preservation versus responsibility for what he'd done. "I have weapons on my ship," Bowman finally said. "Military grade. Stolen, but functional. And I'm a good shot. If you're fighting that thing, you'll need help." Hana studied him. "You would stay? After what you have done? I caused this mess. I should help clean it up." Bowman managed a weak smile. "Besides, my crew can take the ships. I'm not getting paid anyway." "You are still fool," Hana said. "But perhaps brave fool. Very well. Get your weapons, hurry." Bowman ran toward the temple entrance. Taemin looked at Hana. "What's the plan?" "We need power. Much power. Enough to destroy the scout before it can replicate." She led him toward the archive chamber. "The temple has orbital cannon, old but functional. It can fire one shot if we charge it properly." "How do we charge it?" "Your ship's power core. Still leaking radiation, yes? We use that. Connect it to the temple's systems." Dangerous, but possible. They reached the archive and Hana began working the controls. Images filled the air showing the approaching organism. Taemin wished he hadn't looked. The scout was like nothing in nature. It had a body that seemed both mechanical and organic. Tentacles and claws and armor that shifted and changed. It moved through the air like swimming through water. And it was huge. Easily the size of a small building. Where it passed, the air itself seemed to die. Bowman returned carrying a large rifle and 2 smaller weapons. He handed one small gun to Taemin. "Ever used military hardware?" "I'm a scout pilot. I've had basic training. Good enough. That's a plasma rifle. Point and shoot. Don't hit the dragon lady." "Her name is Hana." "Right. Hana. The ancient queen of a dead race who could kill me with one hand. I'll try to remember that." Despite everything, Taemin almost smiled. Hana finished with the controls. "I have a plan. We lure the scout to the main chamber where your ship is. We have rigged your power core to explode on command. Big explosion. Enough to destroy the scout. Won't that destroy the temple too? Taman asked. Yes, but temple is dying anyway. Better to use it as weapon than let it fall to the swarm. What about us? Hana pointed to a side passage. Escape route very fast. We run very fast. It was not a great plan, but it was the only plan they had. The scout organism entered the temple through the hole that Taman's ship had made. It flowed through the corridors like liquid shadow. Where it touched the walls, the crystal turned black and crumbled to dust. The three of them positioned themselves in the main chamber. Hana stood front and center. Taman and Bowman hid behind pillars with their weapons ready. The scout emerged into the chamber and saw Hana. It paused, made a sound like metal scraping on stone. Then it spoke. It spoke in Hana's language. The words came from the scout's body in a dozen different voices. Men, women, children. All the voices of the Yonari it had consumed long ago. All twisted and wrong. Hana's face went white. The translator struggled with the words, but got enough. Queen, last queen, join us. Your people are here. Inside us forever, join them. No, Hana said, her voice shaking. My people died free. I will not insult their memory. The scout rushed forward, faster than anything that size should move. Hana breathed lightning at it. The electricity struck its body and spread across the surface, but the scout kept coming. It had adapted, learned. Taman and Bowman opened fire. Their weapons burned holes in the scout's flesh, but the holes closed immediately. The organism was healing itself faster than they could damage it. A tentacle lashed out at Hana. She dodged, but barely. Another tentacle grabbed a pillar and crushed it like paper. Now would be good, Bowman shouted. Explode now. Not yet, Hana called back. It must be closer. Must be sure. The scout spoke again with its stolen voices. Tempting, promising, threatening. All at once. Hana roared and charged. She grabbed the scout's main body with her claws and held on. Her scales glowed with heat. She was using the last of her strength to hold it in place. Now, Taman, she screamed. Do it now. Taman hit the detonator. The power core exploded with a blast of green fire that filled the chamber. Taman felt himself thrown backward. His ears went deaf. His vision went white. When he could see again, he was outside the temple. Bowman was dragging him away from the collapsing structure. The entire mountain was coming down. Hana, Taman gasped. Where's Hana? Bowman pointed. Hana burst from the collapsing temple, her wings beating hard. She was burned and bleeding, but alive. She landed beside them and collapsed. Behind her, the temple fell completely. The explosion had worked. The scout was destroyed. They could see pieces of its body in the rubble, twitching and smoking, but clearly dead. They had won. For now. They made camp in one of the pirate ships. It was cramped and smelled of old food and sweat, but it had heat and medical supplies and working communications. Bowman's crew had fled in the other two ships, leaving this one behind. Probably thought their boss was dead. Taman treated Hana's wounds as best he could. Burns covered her arms and back where the explosion had caught her. Her scales had protected her from the worst of it, but she was in pain. She sat very still while he worked, never complaining. Bowman worked on the ship's communication system, trying to boost the signal range. He had been surprisingly helpful after nearly ending the world. Guilt was a powerful motivator. How are the SEALs? Taman asked Hana while wrapping bandages around her arm. Getting weaker, she said quietly. I can feel it. The scout we destroyed came from one small opening. But there are many SEALs. They are all failing. When they break completely, the whole hive ship escapes. Yes, millions of organisms, enough to consume this world in days. Then they spread to other worlds, other systems. Taman finished the bandage and sat back. Then we stop them, somehow. Hana smiled sadly. You are very optimistic. You said that before. I'm starting to think you mean stubborn. Both are true, Bowman called over from the communication station. I've boosted the signal. Your distress call is broadcasting on every frequency I can reach. If anyone is listening within 10 light years, they'll hear it. Will they come in time? Hana asked. Depends how fast they can move. Bowman checked his instruments. We've got maybe 5 days before those SEALs break completely. That's cutting it close. Taman stood and walked to the viewport. Outside, he could see the moon in the sky. It looked peaceful from here. Beautiful even. Hard to believe it contained such horror. There has to be something we can do, he said. We can't just sit here and wait. Hana came to stand beside him. She looked at the moon, too, her golden eyes reflecting its light. There is one thing. One final option my people left. What option? Come, I will show you. She led them out of the ship and up a rocky hillside. At the top, she knelt and placed her hand on what looked like a natural stone. The stone glowed at her touch and a panel slid open. Inside were controls that somehow still worked after 3,000 years. Hana activated them. A holographic display appeared showing the moon in detail. The seals were visible as glowing lines across its surface. Most were red now, failing. But deep inside the moon, something else was visible. A ship. A massive ship buried in the moon's core. What is that? Taman asked. Last weapon, Hana explained. My people built it as final solution. A warship designed to fly into the heart of the hive and destroy it from within. They buried it in the moon along with the hive. If the seals ever failed, someone could activate the ship. That's perfect, Bowman said. We activate it, it destroys the hive, problem solved. Not simple, Hana said. The ship requires Yonari pilot. The systems are biolocked. Only Yonari DNA can activate them. Taman felt his stomach sink. You mean you have to pilot it? Yes. It's a suicide mission, isn't it? You fly into the hive and blow everything up, including yourself. Hana nodded slowly. This is why they put me in stasis. Not to rebuild. To die when the time came. One final sacrifice from the last queen. No, Taman said firmly. Absolutely not. There has to be another way. What other way? I am last Yonari. This is my duty. My people's final command. Your people are dead, Taman said, perhaps too harshly. You don't owe them anything. Especially not your life. Hana's eyes flashed with anger. I owe them everything. They died protecting the galaxy from the swarm. Should I dishonor their sacrifice by running away? I'm not saying run away. I'm saying we find a smarter solution. We're not doing the suicide plan. I won't allow it. You will not allow? Hana drew herself up to full height. You are not my commander, human. You cannot order me. Maybe not. But I can refuse to help you kill yourself. They stared at each other. Two stubborn beings from different worlds, neither willing to back down. Bowman cleared his throat awkwardly. I hate to interrupt, but what if we just hack the ship's systems? Remove the biolock? Then anyone could pilot it. Impossible, Hana said, still glaring at Taman. Yonari biolocks are unbreakable. With respect, Your Majesty, my people have been breaking supposedly unbreakable security for as long as we've had computers. Let me look at the systems. Maybe I can find a way. Hana seemed about to refuse. Then she looked at Taman's face and sighed. Very well. Look, but you will find nothing. They spent the next day studying the warship systems through the remote connection. Bowman was good with computers, better than Taman had expected. He found backdoors and exploits that might work, but the biolock remained solid. It's reading DNA constantly, Bowman explained. Every control, every system. If it doesn't read Yonari DNA, nothing works. The ship just sits there. What if we faked the DNA? Taman suggested. Used Hana's blood or something? Tried that. The system checks for living DNA. Has to be connected to a living nervous system. It's very sophisticated. They sat in frustrated silence. Then Taman had an idea. A crazy idea, but maybe crazy enough to work? What if we don't remove the biolock? What if we work with it? How? Hana asked. You pilot the ship remotely. We put you in a pod connected to the ship's systems. You control it from a safe distance. When the ship reaches the hive, you trigger the self-destruct and disconnect. The ship blows up, you survive. Bowman's eyes lit up. That could work. The biolock doesn't care where the pilot is, just that there is a pilot. We'd need to set up a communication link, route it through satellites. The temple had satellites, Hana said slowly. Some may still work. If we can reach them, boost their signals, how much time do we have? Taman asked. Bowman checked his scanner. 3 days now. The seals are failing faster. We need to move quickly. They worked without sleeping for the next 2 days. Hana used her knowledge of Yonari technology to locate and reactivate old satellites. Bowman built the communication link using parts from the pirate ship and salvaged temple equipment. Taman helped where he could, mostly carrying heavy things and keeping everyone fed. The pilot pod was built from a combination of Yonari and human tech. It looked wrong, like it shouldn't work, but it did work, barely. On the 3rd day they were ready. Hana climbed into the pod. Cables connected her to the ship's systems buried in the moon. Her hands rested on controls that glowed with biorecognition. Her eyes closed as she linked with the ancient warship. "I can feel it," she said quietly. "The ship. It's waking up. After so long, it's finally waking." The moon began to shake. Rocks drifted away from its surface as something massive pushed upward from inside. The warship emerged like a whale breaching water. It was beautiful in a terrible way. All flowing curves and sharp edges covered in the same shimmering scales as Hana. "I have control," Hana said. The ship responds. "I am flying." Through the pod's displays, they could see what Hana saw. The warship moving through space toward the breaking seals. The sensors showing the hive ship inside, still mostly contained but stirring. Millions of organisms waiting to be released. "Approaching the containment zone," Hana reported. Her voice was calm, but Taman could hear the strain. Piloting remotely was harder than direct control. "Seals are at 15%. They will fail within hours." "You don't have to do this," Taman said quietly. "We can still run. And let the swarm spread?" "No." Hana's eyes stayed closed, but she smiled. "You taught me something, Taman. You and your stubborn human optimism. My people believed they were doomed, so they became doomed. You humans believe you can solve anything, so you try even when it seems impossible. Maybe that is why you survive when others do not. Maybe we're just too stupid to know when we're beaten. No. You are smart enough to know, but brave enough to fight anyway. This is different." The warship reached the hive ship. It plunged through the weakening seals and into the darkness within. The display showed horrors. Living walls, pulsing corridors, faces in the organic matter. The faces of consumed species. The hive was waking up. "I'm at the core," Hana said, setting the self-destruct. 30 seconds. "Get out," Taman urged. "Disconnect now." "Not yet. Have to be sure the explosion reaches the center." 20 seconds. Organisms were pouring toward the warship. The hive knew it was in danger. It was sending everything it had. "Hana, please." 10 seconds. Almost there. The pod began to shake. The connection was degrading. Too much distance, too much interference. 5 seconds. "Taman, if this does not work, it will work. It has to work. If it does not, tell others about my people. Tell them the Yonari fought with honor. Tell them yourself." "Disconnect now!" Hana hit the final control. The connection cut instantly. The pod went dark. In the sky, the moon erupted with light, a flash so bright it hurt to look at. The explosion tore through the moon's structure, breaking it apart. The hive ship at its center vaporized in an instant, taking millions of organisms with it. The moon became a spreading field of debris and fading energy. The swarm was destroyed. For a long moment, nobody moved. Then the pod's lights came back on. Hana's eyes opened. She looked tired but alive. "Did it work?" she asked. Taman laughed. Actually laughed. Relief and joy mixing together. Yes, it worked." "You did it," Hana smiled. Then she started to cry. Not sad tears, happy tears. "I did it. My people can rest now. Their sacrifice was not in vain." Bowman whooped and danced around like a fool. Taman helped Hana out of the pod. She was shaking but stood on her own. They went outside to watch the debris field spread across the sky. Beautiful and terrible and final. "What will you do now?" Taman asked Hana. "You're free. No more duty. No more obligation to the past." Hana thought for a long moment. "I do not know. For 3,000 years I had purpose. Now that purpose is complete. I am lost. You could come with me. Back to human space. We could use someone with your knowledge, your experience, and maybe..." He paused, unsure. "Maybe you could find new purpose. New friends. You offer this? Even though I am last of dead race? Even though I have nothing to give? You have yourself. That's enough." Before Hana could respond, Bowman's scanner beeped urgently. "Ships incoming. Multiple contacts. Big ones." 3 vessels dropped out of faster-than-light travel. They were human military ships responding to Taman's distress call. Finally. Taman activated his communicator. "This is Captain Taman Park, Earth Survey Corps. Request permission to board and report." A voice came back, crisp and professional. "Permission granted, Captain Park. We've been looking for you. Prepare for pickup." Taman looked at Hana. "Coming?" She spread her wings one last time, looking up at the remains of the moon. Then she folded them and nodded. "Yes, I think I am ready for something new." 6 months later, Hana stood before the United Earth Assembly on humanity's capital station. She wore formal robes that human tailors had made specially for her. They accommodated her wings and matched the shimmer of her scales. The assembly hall was filled with representatives from dozens of human worlds. They listened in silence as she told her story. The rise of the Yonari, the war with the swarm, the sacrifice of her people, the danger that still lurked in dark space beyond the galaxy. When she finished, they offered her a position. Ambassador and Guardian. She would share Yonari knowledge, help humanity prepare for threats they didn't yet understand, and serve as a bridge between her dead civilization and this living one. She accepted. Taman stood beside her through all of it. He had been promoted after the incident report was filed, decorated for valor, assigned as Hana's official liaison, which mostly meant being her friend and occasionally reminding her to sleep. Now they stood together at the observation deck, looking out at Earth below. Blue and green and beautiful, so different from the gray world where they had met. Your people are noisy, Hana said with amusement. Always talking, always moving, always building something new. Is that bad? No, it is good. My people were too quiet at the end. Too still. We stopped building and started just maintaining. That is when we truly died, I think, before the swarm ever came. We'll keep you busy, don't worry. Half the science division wants to talk to you. And the military wants you to consult on defense systems. And there's a school asking if you'd give a lecture on xenobiology. Hana groaned. So much talking. You love it, she smiled. Perhaps a little. It is nice to be needed again. To have purpose. They stood in comfortable silence for a moment. Thank you, Hana said suddenly. For not letting me die. For being stubborn and optimistic and refusing to accept the easy answer. Thank you for not eating me when we first met. I know you thought about it. Only briefly. You looked very small and stringy. Taman laughed. Down below, Earth continued its slow rotation. Somewhere on that planet, people were being born. Growing up, learning, building, dreaming of the stars, and in orbit above them, a dragon queen from a dead civilization looked at it all and felt something she thought she had lost forever. Hope. The dragon queen has awakened, Taman said, grinning. And the galaxy has no idea what's coming. Hana's eyes gleamed with ancient fire and newfound joy. Then let us show them what humans and dragons can accomplish together. They would face many challenges ahead. New threats would emerge. Mysteries would need solving. Adventures would call them both. But for now, in this moment, they simply stood together and looked at the future. And the future looked bright.